Yo, Curtis,
Yo, Oz.
what you got for us this week?
This week, we got Bram Stoker's Dracula meets Young Frankenstein, crossed with the early 90s sitcom Wings, plus...
Yeah. I was wondering if Wings were going to show up.
Wings is there. Plus, Janos from Ghostbusters 2 is Vigo! This week we're watching Dracula, Dead and Loving It.
It's Vigo!
It's Vigo!
Welcome back, everybody, to another week of Let's Talk About Flicks, where we take a monthly theme and just riff on it and contribute movies to satisfy the theme so that we can hang out and talk to each other.
Basically.
I'm one of your hosts, Oz.
I am the other host, Curtis.
And like you said, we're here to talk about Dracula, Dead and Loving It. The what year was this?
95. This is 95. Yep.
I knew it was somewhere right there in the middle of the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Mel Brooks starring, Mel Brooks directed, Mel Brooks written, I suppose.
I think, yeah, he wrote part of it.
Yeah.
And
he co-wrote it with Bram Stoker.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just, we were talking, there it is. There's Bram Stoker's
silly, Dracula Dead and Loving It. Just silly, harmless movie.
Right. It's there. So before we get too far into our review, we do want to give a shout
that's this week, folks.
There it is.
And we'll see you next week.
But no, we do want to give a shout out to our Patreon subscribers, Don S. and Melissa L. Thank you for your patronage. And just remember that your money is well spent listening to us talk about Dracula, Dead and Loving It this week.
Helps keep the lights on, folks.
Yeah. So we hope you feel like you're getting what you paid for this week.
Not a cent more.
No, we owe you. And so before it is your week of Man Bat Month, where we discuss movies. Yeah, movies with vampires that turn into bats. That's the key. They have to turn into bats on screen. And so we've got our cast of characters here. Like you said in your movie marriage, we're looking at Bram Stoker's Dracula as the guide here. This is if Bram Stoker's Dracula was a video game, this would be a mod for it.
Yeah. It's like the honest trailer for Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah, exactly. And so we've got your cast of characters. We've got Dracula, played by Leslie Nielsen.
That's why not?
Of Naked Gun fame. We've got Van Helsing, the main opponent of Dracula, played by Mel Brooks,
of course,
played by Yogurt himself. We've got Renfield, another Dracula regular, is kind of his crony, played by, like you said, Peter MacNicol.
Janos!
who is basically playing Janos.
Yeah.
We've got probably the most try-hard actor, Steven Weber, playing Jonathan Harker.
He gives it the old college try.
It's almost like no one told him that, because there was very little comedy from his delivery, which was fine. But he really he acted his butt off in this movie. But he's playing Jonathan Harker, and then you see a couple of just Mel Brooks regulars, really from the two eras of Mel Brooks.
Yeah.
You see Mina, played by Amy Yazbek, who also plays Maid Marian in the Robin Hood Men in Tights, and Lucy's not a regular, but we see Lucy, and there you gotta have Lucy in your Dracula story, play a little Lysette Anthony, and then probably my favorite character of the bunch, Dr. Seward, played by Harvey Korman,
who has one medical solution to everything.
I enjoyed Harvey Korman in this one. It was fun. I don't know. It was just fun. I think that's a word you're going to hear throw up a lot of this. It's just fun.
He was basically just doing a sketch from the Carol Burnett show the whole time.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, but it was fun seeing him work, almost 20 years later after Blazing Saddles. Maybe more than 20. I don't remember what year Blazing Saddles was, but it was 70 something.
I think 74. 74.
Okay, so it was a good 21 years later. So, but there's your cast. That's really about it, and we had we had the exact same characters back in February.
Yeah,
so we just played by different actors.
Recapping for our viewers, even though we know that you've watched that episode,
probably right
or listened,
this
yes, immediately before. When we covered during Valentine's Day Wife's Choice Month, we were covering Wife's Choice romance movies, and my wife, also known as
my wife,
who may or may not be Patreon subscriber, Melissa L.
may or may not.
May or may not. I will neither confirm nor deny. May or may not be Patreon subscriber Melissa L. One of her choices for romantic movies was Bram Stoker's Dracula, because my wife is a sociopath and I love her.
Yeah,
but
and incidentally, and it wasn't the most violent movie she picked for that month.
No, there was and violence in a different way. Yes, but yes, my wife defines romance as I don't know, lovelorn over hundreds of years.
Yeah,
and purchasing property in London, just so you could stalk the woman who looks like the woman that you were married to hundreds of years in the past.
Yeah, my wife picked Legends of the Fall. So.
Also a bonkers movie in its own right.
Oh my god! I still laugh because I just picture like there's the page at the movie studio who's running the finished copy of Legends of the Fall script, and another page who's bringing another script, and they do the hit each other at the intersection and the papers go flying.
Yeah.
And then just rummage them up, and that's the movie they made. And Legends of the Fall was this joint union of two different types of movies that just accidentally got scripted together.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so we've covered Dracula in one sense before.
Yes, we have. And
but not quite like this.
And Dracula Dead and Loving It is pretty much, as I kind of joked before, it's pretty much the honest trailer for Bram Stoker's Dracula, and about as long as an honest trailer is as well. It's incredibly truncated. It just hits some of the narrative high spots and some of the moments from Bram Stoker's Dracula that really make it be that true spoof. While also making fun of
specifically the movie Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah. So let's get into the plot, Oz, of Dracula Dead and Loving It. We open on Renfield, Peter MacNicol's character, traveling to Transylvania in 1893 by train. His carriage races for the village as the sun sets. The people are afraid of the locals. They say that there's vampires. Yes.
This is just so deja vu from February.
Yeah.
Because that was your movie, too.
Yes, it was. I could probably just pull up my notes from that movie.
I know. I thought, I'm like, should we just cut this out? And I'll just take the plot parts of that podcast and drop it into this one in the edit. And then just voice over the different actor names. Leslie Nielsen.
Playing Dracula is getting there, Leslie Nielsen. Playing Amina is Winona. Amy Asback.
But go ahead.
we get again a taste of some of the kind of your screwball Three Stooges-esque comedy as they start riding very fast to make sure they're in this village by the time the sun goes down, and Peter MacNicol is just getting thrown over the inside of this horse carriage, like ragdolled around the inside of it.
Wow!
Basically, that's a pretty good Janos there, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, my wife likes it when I speak like Janos from Ghostbusters 2.
He's a Vigo.
She's my Sigourney.
Mm-hmm. They get there, and we get a cameo from Mel Brooks's real life spouse, Anne Bancroft.
Yeah, Anne Bancroft.
Yeah, playing a kind of like a gypsy woman who gives/sells him a cross to keep him safe on his travels.
Yeah, just so I'm good. I'm okay. I'm okay. I don't need it.
And so he continues on. He continues on to the castle, and we basically get the send up of was it Keanu Reeves' character arriving at the castle. So there's parts of this which are exchanged with the Renfield character and the Harker character from Bram Stoker's Dracula. But again, they're basically just sort of hitting the memorable classic scenes from Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah, because Renfield, played by Tom Waits, pretty much spent that entire movie just in a prison cell.
Yeah, like in an asylum.
Yeah. So asylum. But so they've got to marry the two together somehow.
Yeah. So Peter MacNicol's Renfield walks in, and we get the whole bit where Dracula kind of steps out. His shadow follows him, and is not his shadow. It acts of its own accord. It lunges for Renfield, but Dracula calls it back because that's the kind of movie this is.
It's what it is. It's fun.
And then Dracula slips on bat droppings. And
guano.
A
pile of guano.
And goes head over feet and just tumbles down the stairs. His shadow limps it off. So his shadow took the worst of it there.
Fake shadow.
Yeah. The Leslie Nielsen Dracula has the same kind of big hairpiece that the Gary Oldman one does from Bram Stoker's Dracula. So nice little parallel there.
But it is specifically just a hairpiece.
Yeah, it literally is a hairpiece because he walks into the next room and he takes it off and puts it on a coat rack.
And now he just looks like Frank Drebin at a Halloween party.
Frank Drebin. It's Enrico Palazzo.
Must kill the queen.
It's the right fielder.
I love Reggie Jackson.
Oh, renowned actor Reggie Jackson.
Yep.
So Renfield basically sells Dracula Carfax Abbey, which is the property next to kind of where everybody else in this cast lives in London. So they cut some corners there as well because Carfax Abbey is next to everything else in London.
Right. It's like Gotham.
Yeah.
It's all there.
Everything's there in a two block square radius. Yeah.
This was early London when London was just like you said, a couple of blocks.
It's early Dewey. This is middle Dewey. Our requisite weekly walk hard reference.
There it is. Iron Mike Sharp. I just wanted to make sure I got it in.
Yeah. We got our Iron Mike Sharp and our Dewey Cox references in. So Renfield sells him Carfax Abbey. Renfield gets a paper cut and blood starts squirting out of his finger, like SNL style.
That's just what I was going to say. This is Saturday Night Live style. It's just gushing.
Yeah, just everywhere. And of course, Dracula lips his lips like he's about to saddle up to do a T-bone steak.
Exactly. He's at the Sizzler.
Yeah, he's at the Outback. Got a bloomin' onion to go with that.
Outback Steakhouse.
When you're
it's
here,
where you take your Shirley.
Yeah. Sheila.
Sheila.
You can take.
Sorry, I didn't mean to call you Shirley.
You can take your Shirley there as well.
That's right.
Don't call
That's
me.
where you take your Sheila.
Don't call me Shirley. So later, Renfield's in bed, and we kind of get the sequence. Again, state of the obvious, we're going to keep referencing Bram Stoker's Dracula over and over.
Because that's all this movie is a reference to Bram Stoker's Dracula.
So the scene where Keanu Reeves' Jonathan Harker character, this time it's the Renfield character, has two very buxom undead brides float in and try to have their way with him, but he keeps falling asleep.
Right. Well, he keeps trying to put them away until he realizes what they're doing.
Yes.
And he's like, wrong me.
Eventually, Dracula comes in, shoos away.
Calls them off.
The two brides. And then hypnotizes Renfield into becoming his slave. So he's got Renfield on board, Oz. Later, we get the sequence where Dracula his coffin travels from Transylvania over to London via boat. And we get another slapstick sequence of Renfield trying to hold the untethered coffin from sliding all around the boat. And we hear Dracula's oofs from inside the coffin. So we cut to a fancy theater in London, Oz, where we meet most of the rest of the cast. We meet Jonathan Harker, Stephen Weber's Jonathan Harker. We meet Lucy. I forget the actress that played Lucy.
Lisette Anthony.
Lisette Anthony. The Lisette Anthony.
Carmela's first wife. That's not true.
Yeah, or Greg.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I always get Greg and Carmelo confused. The Anthony brothers.
There you go. And let's see.
Susan B's. It's
Susan B. Yes, it's from a long line of Anthony's.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. It's her great niece.
We also meet Mina, Amy Yazbek's Mina character. They're all in a theater in a box. Harker speaks of being repressed because that's the classic Harker character, while Mina and Lucy sort of dream of experimenting with their becoming a bit more unbridled as they grow into womanhood. Dr. Seward enters, who in this movie is Mina's father, as they try to condense some of these characters down.
Right, really tighten it up.
Yep. He just talked to MacNicol's Renfield character in his sanitarium. Dracula then enters the box, talks to Seward because he knows that Carfax Abbey borders the sanitarium where Renfield is at.
We get this cute little back and forth where Dracula tries to hypnotize like the usher, and then sends her on an errand, and then tells her, "And you will forget everything I've told you," which then she immediately forgets everything he just said. So they get a little who's on first back and forth, and fine, I'll just do it myself.
Dracula is a bit taken by Lucy, who is also a bit intrigued by him, which I think is hilarious because Gary Oldman is a good looking kind of sexy man, and then,
he is.
And then you've got Leslie Nielsen, who's clearly like in his mid-70s.
Yeah, you got Grandpa Leslie.
So at home, Lucy longingly looks out her window, sees Dracula sort of on the balcony at Carfax Abbey next door. I think she sort of disrobes for him.
Mm-hmm.
Dracula flies into or transforms into a bat. Flies over once she's asleep. The bat, it's a bat body with Leslie Nielsen's head.
Right.
And of course, we get the spoof sequence of the bat flying directly into the closed window pane.
It's because she got cold before he came in.
Ooh, it's a bit chilly in here.
Gives like a full body shudder.
Like, ooh.
Maybe I shouldn't have disrobed moments ago.
Let's see. Seward and Harker enter, thinking they heard a noise in the bushes. Dracula is clinging to the ceiling. Of course, he falls flat on his face after they leave because this is a slapstick Mel Brooks movie.
Yes, it is.
Dracula then approaches the bed where Lucy is asleep, throws his cape over himself and her, and you hear straw slurping noises. Coming from
long fangs on him. Yeah. Long hollow fangs.
Really drained her quick.
Yeah.
That's why when you go to the old drive-thru, you ask for no ice because you finish that off quick.
Yeah. I actually do when I go to drive-thrus. Mm-hmm. I'm like, no ice, and then they don't like it. But I'm like, I feel like, kid, you're not paying for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Just fill the cup.
just give me my icy orange. And
right.
What's
just give me my liter of cola.
It's for a cop.
Don't spit in that cop's burger.
Roger holding the spit. The next morning, Mina awakes Lucy at 10 o'clock, and Lucy is quite pale, Oz. She kind of reacts to the sun, states she feels drained. Dr. Seward comes in to examine her. Apparently, also in this movie, Lucy is Seward's ward, which explains why she resides there. Again, just condensing all of these characters and basically into one family, just for simplicity's sake. And he calls for Dr. Van Helsing, because he knows more about obscure diseases, Oz. We cut to Van Helsing at a college campus giving a seminar above an autopsy there, to which every student passes out.
He's like trying hard to make everyone just, get sick and pass out.
Yeah, and there's literally a dozen people passed out around. Dracula wakes up the next day, speculating that Lucy's young blood has cured him. And he goes outside. He's walking around in broad daylight.
He's having a great time.
Yeah, he is. Renfield walks up to him, but there's like people picnicking. He's in kind of a dreamy park, and Renfield says, "What are you doing out in the daylight?" "Oh, I had this blood." "No, you didn't." And he catches on fire.
He starts smoking.
Yeah. But it was all a daymare.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know. It's like, that's a very elaborate setup just on a play of words.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a daymare.
Yeah.
Like, whatever.
This was your first time watching this movie, correct?
Yeah.
As it was mine, so I wasn't quite sure where they were going here in the sequence.
I didn't either, because I thought, that's quite a left turn for the Dracula story.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be pretty straightforward, follow the Stoker narrative. Oh, but it was all a dream.
Yeah, they didn't even give us the luxury of like Wayne's World's. We didn't get the warning. We just got thrust into a daymare.
Straight up daymare. No Scooby-Doo villain unmasking or anything like that.
Just daymare. Like, I just envision Mel Brooks sitting there like fighting writer's block. Daymare.
That's it.
There's a joke. There it is. All right, next page.
Van Helsing arrives on the scene. He examines Lucy and says that her wounds are supernatural. She was bitten by a vampire. To which Mel Brooks, as the Van Helsing character, starts intentionally, at least to me, jump in with what you thought of this. I think he intentionally starts overacting because, as we discussed back in February, Tony Hopkins as Van Helsing was awful in that role.
Oh my god!
And hammed it up like a pineapple ringed ham.
That's right.
So I think
it's Christmas dinner for this guy.
I think Mel Brooks caught on to that, and he dialed it up. Did you pick up on that as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's why I was even thinking, like, if we did, cut the podcast audio, the plot audio from the previous one, this would be one where we could just every time we said Anthony Hopkins, we could just say Mel Brooks, because he's purposely overacting.
Yes.
But yeah, I think it was tongue in cheek of, I'm going to go too far, because that's what, to be fair, we said it earlier, like this, it's hard to say, because when you think about the novel Dracula by Bram Stoker, this movie is more of a spoof of the movie Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yes.
So it's a secondary telling of the Dracula story, but this movie's, unlike Young Frankenstein, which was kind of like poking fun at the Frankenstein story, this is poking fun at Bram Stoker's Dracula, the Francis Ford Coppola movie.
Yes.
And so, those Dracula purists that haven't seen this, like, I really don't think he's making fun of the Dracula novel. He's making fun of the like 1992 Dracula movie. Which was a good movie.
Yeah, it was.
But it's also fun
to
see it. It's also fun to just kind of see it riffed on a little bit too, because it had its inconsistencies, and Mel Brooks is genius enough to pick up on those, and then do this with it.
So Van Helsing says that the vampire Dracula will come back tonight to claim Lucy. We then cut to Dracula rising out of the coffin, kind of Nosferatu style, and then bonking his head directly on a chandelier.
Of course he did.
I have a thing of people getting bonked on that. Yeah.
Even when it's extremely predictable, it's still just primal humor.
Yeah. As does Patreon subscriber Melissa L. People falling down and people being bonked in the head will set off the funny bone of Patreon subscriber Melissa L. So back to Lucy in bed. They surrounded her with garlic, and they got a whole lot of garlic, guys.
A lot of garlic.
I don't know where you could find that much garlic.
Aldi.
They had to raid every Aldi in like a 50-mile radius.
Exactly. Yeah, it was a lot of garlic. There's some poor garlic farmer there and just outside of London that has now had his field completely, gutted.
A third of their budget.
It's poor and destitute now.
A third of the budget went to garlic requisition. So Dracula goes and busts Renfield out of the jail by bending the bars, and of course Renfield just thinks he can leap out and fly and just falls to the ground. Renfield enters the bedroom, begins removing the garlic. Lucy begins moaning, and he looks under the covers, to which Seward and Harker catch him in the act. They bring him back to the sanitarium for Dr. Seward's one method of medical treatment. Dr. Seward, again, medical Dr. Seward.
Yes.
He's a medical doctor. He also runs the local sanitarium. And his treatment for everything, Oz, is enema.
Enema.
You know?
Yep. Flush them out.
It'll
work.
A little flushing does the body good, you know. Get things moving in there. Back for another enema. So Seward and Harker leave. Renfield's back at the sanitarium again. And then Dracula lures Lucy out. To which Mina sees something happening in the garden. And he sees someone attacking and killing Lucy. The next day, they mourn Lucy's passing. Van Helsing says they have to stake Lucy. Dracula actually... yes? Or are you just laughing at what's coming up?
I'm just laughing at what's coming up, yeah. Because I know what's coming up, unlike Steven Weber.
Yeah, he doesn't know a whole lot. Dracula actually shows up at their residence to pay his condolences, and he and Van Helsing, in a bit that I think failed, get into this thing where they have to like have the last word with each other.
Yeah. It failed. I agree.
That didn't work. Although Van Helsing speculates to Seward and Harker that Dracula is the vampire. That night, Lucy tricks her way out of the coffin. She kills a groundsman. Harker goes to stand watch, and she ends up trying to seduce Harker. Lucy. Just as Lucy is about to bite Harker, Oz, the momentum picks up. The stakes are rising. Van Helsing shows up and drives her back into the crypt with a cross.
Works every time.
Every time. So Harker...
It's like the bend and snap.
Every time. 60% of the time it works. Every time. So Harker and Van Helsing go into the crypt, and Van Helsing tells Harker, "Yeah, you should take this one. I'll just go stand over here." So Harker goes and he goes to drive a stake through Lucy's heart, to which we get an Evil Dead-esque blood flood.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. I would say this is probably more like Evil Dead 2, where it's purposefully comedic, but it's just and like I mentioned a moment ago, like poor Steven Weber had no idea it was going to be this much blood. Yeah. And so when he does the stake tap and then like you said, just gushes a tsunami of blood all over him, only for Mel Brooks. Or as for, Van Helsing, I don't think she's dead. You must do it again.
So he does it again, and he says, well, she just ate.
So another flood of blood all over him. To which he's like, again, that's, I guess he ad-libbed it too. Steven Weber's like, I think she's dead enough. Because he's just getting destroyed with all of this.
covered in it.
And it was funny. It's like it's time to drink from the fire hose. It's like he's on Stanley Spadowski's Clubhouse, and he's just gonna get railed with it.
Fire hose. You found the marble in the oatmeal. So back at the Seward residence, Dracula shows up and hypnotizes Mina. And they begin to dance the dance of love, Oz.
And it's another, very long...
Yes, yeah. Obvious doubles. Very obvious doubles.
Oh, yeah. This whole scene here just reminded me of Tia Carrere and Arnold Schwarzenegger in True Lies and their dance scene.
That's right, yeah. Yep.
It's just another one that's like, okay, you've got people that can dance, but this has gone on way too long.
Yeah. The next morning, Harker wakes Mina, who's wearing mysteriously wearing a white scarf around her neck.
Yeah.
She tries to tempt kind of the repressed Harker, who freaks out because he has no idea what sexuality is.
None.
No, none whatsoever.
Renfield's gotten closer than he has.
Seward actually shows up in there. Says, after being engaged to my daughter for 5 years, you have the audacity to touch her. Because he thinks Harker's trying to put the moves on her.
Oh yeah, 5 years in.
Yeah, 5 years in. Van Helsing puts a cross in her hand, which causes her to pass out. And then they come up with their final plan as they have to reveal the vampire. So we cut to a formal ball at the Seward residence. People dancing, Dracula walks in, and fun little scene. The three men, Harker, Van Helsing, and Seward, are all standing there, and Dracula kind of walks up and kind of startles them, and they all like, "Jeez!" Like,
yeah. This was a fun scene.
Yeah,
this wasn't bad.
Dracula again starts dancing with Mina, and the three men are able to reveal Dracula as the vampire because they unveil a gigantic mirror.
It's like a 12-foot mirror they pull out.
Which they casts no reflection.
You even make the comment when Mina's dancing with it, like one of them makes the comment like she's doing pretty good by herself.
Yeah. I was just about to say it's dumb Harker.
Yeah, she's doing all right by herself. Just totally playing on the fact that she does not have a dance partner. He's watching her in the mirror.
What a dummy Harker is, in the best ways.
Oh yeah.
Dracula grabs Mino, jumps out a glass window to escape. And then we have the final climactic scene here where they go back to Carfax Abbey into, I think, like a local chapel there. Dracula holds Harker up by the neck as they're all trying to attack him. Harker ends up doing the old Three Stooges poke, the Roddy Piper poke to the eyes.
That's right. He got him.
Van Helsing ends up prying open some windows, which burns Dracula. He turns into a bat, flies up into the rafters, and somehow Renfield is on the roof. And he peels back a section of the roof, which then kills Dracula.
Right. He peels back to talk to his boss.
Yeah. And that's it. That's Dracula Dead and Loving It, folks. And possibly the shortest plot synopsis we've ever done. And I was even dragging out a couple of parts as well,
right.
trying to add a little bit of length to this. But yeah,
they cut right to it.
Yeah. And there's a lot that they removed or truncated from the original movie as well.
Right. Yeah, like Lucy's three lovers, and they cut out, like you said, this is the Cliff Notes.
Yeah, it really is the Spark Notes version of Bram Stoker's Dracula. All right, well, at this point in the show, folks, Oz and I each give our own unique rating to the film in question, in this case, 1995's Dracula Dead and Loving It. Oz, how would you rate this flick?
Ooh, how would I rate this flick? Man, I'm going to let you go first when I think about it.
Okay. I'm going to go with one blubbering Harvey Korman.
Okay, that's a good one. I like that one. I'm gonna give this two solid performances from Steven Weber and Peter MacNicol.
Okay, so 1 and a 2.
I really didn't know what to rate it.
Yeah.
I
was stumped on this one as well.
Yeah,
so whatever.
Like,
two performances.
I was like, okay, there we go.
One blubbering Harvey Korman. Okay, whatever. Because he kind of talked with his jowls the whole time. Harvey Korman.
He did.
Yeah. Next up in the show here, folks, we have Outside Insight, in which Oz and I each have scoured the interwebs for an unprofessional review somewhere in the ether, to which we bring and present to you and make fun of the person who wrote this.
Yes, we do.
Oz, what is your Outside Insight?
I have a 5-star review by Gory Father.
Is that 5 out of 5?
That's 5 out of 5.
Ooh.
A 5-star review from Gory Father on Letterboxd dropped July 5th of this year.
Oh, recent watching.
Yeah, he says, I cannot describe how many times I laughed.
That's it.
That's it.
I can't describe how many times I laughed.
Yeah. It's a number. He just doesn't know. He just doesn't know.
I can't put the words to how many times I laughed.
I can understand. He said I can't describe why I laughed.
Yeah,
at this, but I just can't describe how many times.
It's more of a math thing than anything else.
It's like I just can't do it.
I take the square root of the Pythagorean theorem of.
I wonder if he got confused with giving it a star rating too. Like, did he just fill them all? It's like, well, I can't count.
They're there to be filled. I just started coloring, and I ended up with that many stars.
Yeah, that's that. He can't describe how many times he laughed.
I can't describe numbers.
Numbers have stumped me for years.
Oh, you numbers.
So thank you, Gory Father,
Thank
for
you.
that
Thank you.
very, very astute and specific. This was a quality review, not a quantitative review.
There you go. The research shows that.
Yeah. How about you? What do you got?
I hope Gory Father passes along better mathematical skills to gory children.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure he does. Bobby Bubble Bath.
Bobby Bubble Bath, one of last week's Outside Insights, yes.
Right. All right, what's your Outside Insight?
Mine comes from the Internet Movie Database. Archeon 10. This one was left in March of 2001. A 10 out of 10 review on the Internet. We both went with stellar reviews for this. The tag is a chemical masterpiece.
Oh, masterpiece.
Masterpiece. This is a 3-sentence review. This genius working product of the meeting of comical genius, Mel Brooks, and once again, comical genius, Leslie Nielsen, creates a comical masterpiece. Highlights include the wonderful, all caps, dancing scene and the hypnosis scene, a must-watch for all. I love how in the first sentence the word comical is used 3 times, as is the word genius.
Right. And then he only hits up 2 scenes, neither of which were funny.
Yeah.
The dancing scene and the hypnotic scene, the hypnosis scene were just amazing.
The comical genius of Mel Brooks and the comical genius of Leslie Nielsen creates a comical masterpiece. Genius.
Genius. Oh, boy.
Yeah,
I can't wait till he sees another comedy.
Yeah, or just another movie. I have a feeling this is the first one this person has ever seen.
never seen a movie before.
This person is very easily impressed. That's what I get out of that.
Yeah, what's that Brendan Fraser movie? It's a Blast from the Past, where like he lives in a bunker for like 20 years or something like that.
Blast from
so
the
this
past.
is. Yeah, or Encino Man, another Brendan Fraser movie, of not knowing it. But yeah, his first interaction with motion pictures is Dracula Dead and Loving It.
Wow, what a masterpiece.
But still had the wherewithal to go to IMDb and drop a rating.
That's what one does in these modern times.
Yeah.
And folks, we're at the point of the show you've all been waiting for, the 3-2-1, our signature segment in which Oz and I each reveal 3 goods, 2 bads, and 1 about the film we've been talking about, 1995's Mel Brooks directed Dracula, Dead and Loving It. Oz, what are your 3 goods?
My first good is I really enjoyed how this really was fairly loyal to the Dracula story.
Sure.
But in a Looney Tunes kind of way. Added the slapstick and that was just fun to where it was definitely a movie that you could watch and not necessarily pay complete attention to. Mm-hmm. You're not missing anything, especially if you're already familiar with the story. So yeah, the Dracula story in a Looney Tunes type setting was just kind of fun. I felt like when Bugs Bunny would be on stage, like performing some like classical opera or whatever. But it still was full of pratfalls and goofs. Like that's kind of how I felt watching this.
Kill the wabbit, kill the wabbit.
He's got the Viking horns on, and so my second good is Harvey Korman and his enema insistence.
I have that as one of my possible goods as well. Its only medical solution is enema. It's the only treatment plan.
Without any hesitation,
just give him an enema.
Let me think. Just give him an enema.
Give him an enema. Solves all my problems.
And it feels good. And my third one, and this is less about the movie, but more about just the environment, is that I really love the fact that Mel Brooks has earned enough respect in Hollywood to get the funding to just make what he wants.
Yeah.
No matter how dumb it is, and still pack his cast with people that are not, that aren't afraid to just have fun.
Yeah.
You get so many actors that pass on roles because how it will make me look, or if I don't need the paycheck, then I'm taking a risk. And like I just feel like late stage Mel Brooks, he just kind of gets a bunch of people that are like, hey, I love you, man. Let's just make this.
Yeah, let's just make a stupid movie.
Right. And it's like, and it's fun because they are well made.
Yeah.
And so I do. I love that Mel Brooks, he's got that amount of respect. He's earned that amount of respect as a comedic genius to switch gears from something kind of shocking like a Blazing Saddles and actually just like stick with physical humor and have a great time doing it.
Just something silly.
Yeah.
Not inconsequential. Fun. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You're not going to overthink this one. You're just you're either going to enjoy it or you don't. And it's uneven, but
yeah. If you take it for what it is, you can have a good time with this movie.
So those are my 3 goods. What do you got?
My 3 goods. I'm going to go with first of all, the fact that it's less than an hour and a half is
that was nice. That was real nice.
The runtime was definitely fitting for this type of movie. This is one that hadn't gone on any longer, it would have gotten old really fast. And it did have some moments where it was old, and I'm sure that'll come up here in a moment. However, it was a compact, tight movie. Very little plot. Not that it needed plot. It was basically just there to support the gags. That's all you need for this movie. Keep it tight. Keep it short. My second good will be quite simply, as I mentioned before, people being bonked on the head by things is a pastime in the manky possible Melissa L. household. And Dracula rising out of the coffin and bonking his head on said chandelier tickles my funny bone every time.
It's funny.
Yeah. Complete
as long as he doesn't have like CTE or something.
Yes, like that, it's not Tua from the Dolphins having to get evaluated on the sidelines. Yeah,
right. Yeah. Dracula sits out the rest of the movie in the concussion protocol. Renfield is now the star of the movie.
Dracula donated his brain to science upon his death.
Yeah, it's an abnormal brain.
Nice. Oh, for my last good, let's go with the staking of Lucy sequence. Oh, just fun. A good old, physical humor, blood flood. You put some gore in there, even though it's not gory, it's just silly. But again, just over the top gore for over the top sake, to the point that it's just fun and stupid.
This blood flood scene here reminds me there was an SNL sketch quite a while ago where who is the actor that's in it? But they're somebody's buying it's Kenan Thompson and Leslie Jones they're there to buy, they're buying gifts at a store, and this is like right before Christmas where they wrap it for you. Mm-hmm. Oh, it was James Franco.
Okay. He was I remember this one. Okay, yeah.
and like he just keeps getting a paper cut from the wrapping paper, but it's just pouring out.
Yeah.
And I know at one point with Leslie Jones comes up, like he like points at her and it shoots this blood into her mouth, and she didn't know it was coming, and she like broke. She stayed in character but broke character. Yeah. It just almost vomited on set.
Yeah, I remember that.
So much blood. It's just a fun skit. Oh no, it's get a little woozy. It's just, think what you want about James Franco, but that particular skit was pretty funny.
Yes, not because
that's what it reminded me of.
Not because of James Franco, but just because of
the premise.
Yes, yeah. Oh, all right, Oz. Let's see. What are your 2 bads?
My first one, and Leslie Nielsen is just, I find him way funnier when he's playing the humor straight. Mm-hmm. Be it Airplane or the Naked Gun films.
Yeah.
He knows obviously as an actor, he knows he's in comedies, but he's playing it straight, which is what makes it funny.
Yeah.
And I feel like he kind of spends this entire movie just winking at the camera.
Yeah.
And it's fine because that's what it is, but it's just, like, I find him funnier as the straight man in a comedy when all the comedy's happening around him as opposed to trying to be funny.
Yeah.
And my second one is, can a vampire please die by any other means than it's hit by sunlight? Like, there's this whole mythos of what could kill a vampire, but this is 3 weeks in a row that our main vampiric villain has been destroyed due to a blast of sunlight. It's like, come on, let's Let's get the steak in the heart. Let's get the cross. Let's get the garlic. Let's do something else.
Yeah.
But it's another one, and it ended. I was like, oh, of course, another sunlight.
Of course,
kill.
it's sunlight this time.
Yeah,
it's always sunlight.
How about you? It won't be sunlight next week. I'll tell you that.
My two bads. First of all, just too much Renfield. Like,
yeah.
I know that they took parts of the Harker character and that arc and made it Renfield, but I don't know. It was just too much. I thought that the character had a very minimal purpose, and that was to basically get Dracula to London, but then they made him stick around as this like second banana character, and it just didn't quite work for me.
Well, and I had told you, during the week, I'm just not a big Peter MacNicol fan.
Yeah.
Like, it's whatever, but he was fine in Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah.
But
it's Vigo.
But it's like he's not the best part of Ghostbusters 2. And so but yeah, it's just like, okay, there he is.
Yeah.
He just seems like he seems like Mel Brooks' version of Clint Howard. Like it's like he's there and he's got just enough acting chops to make it on screen, but he doesn't have the looks to be a leading man.
Yeah.
He's a character actor that you just know his name.
Tangent
sorry, Clint Howard.
I think he knows it. He accepts it. He knows what he is.
He absolutely knows it. Yeah, he totally is fine with
leading Hollywood man, Clint Howard.
You may have seen him in Ice Cream Man and Ticks.
Oh, one of my favorite Clint Howard, tangenting on Clint Howard for a moment. Clint Howard Hollywood moments is a Key and Peele sketch.
Okay.
Where it's the send up of that like mid to late 80s like workout dance kind of video the choreographed like workout dance stuff.
It was like the Crystal Light.
Yeah.
I forgot he was in that.
And it's the two of them going back and forth and doing this routine, and he starts holding up cue cards to Keegan-Michael Key's character,
right.
like your wife and child were in an accident. Do you know any? Do you know anyone that is trying to get at you? And he looks over. The Jordan Peele character just winks at him.
Yeah, so we keep dancing.
Keep dancing. That could arguably be my favorite Key and Peele sketch.
Oh, it is mine. It is mine. And that I love they use the same song because they're spoofing on like the 1983 or whatever, Crystal Light. Like aerobic championships or whatever, which in itself is unintentional comedy gold. So they're totally setting up on that, like you said. But that song's catchy though.
It is catchy.
It's on Apple Music. I have it on a playlist. I play it. Yeah. Oh, it's a fun song.
And like a lot of the Key and Peele, like some of the best Key and Peele sketches, it has like a horror undertones to it.
And we've talked about that just off the show before. That it's no surprise that Jordan Peele is as successful making horror films as he is.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, so many Key and Peele sketches they're funny, but there's horror, and and there's that old Hollywood kind of just knowledge of comedy and horror, or they're just opposite sides of the same spectrum, but they are that they're the same, almost like love and hate. They're the same amount of energy, the same feeling, but just in a different direction. And so comedy and horror are that as well. And so he straddles them both wonderfully.
Well, that's why people react to those two genres so much, because it elicits emotion, it elicits humor, it elicits fear. A couple of the strongest, human emotions out there. And when we need an artificial dose of fear or humor, we go to the movies.
Right. And how, good horror directors have mastered the roller coaster of, we sprinkle in enough comedy, then we can really jerk the chain back in the other direction with another scare.
Yeah.
Because nobody wants to stay scared for an hour and a half. But if we could bring them up and let them down, and bring them up and let them down, and just continue writing that, and the great horror directors, they know that, and that's their bread and butter.
My other bad, getting back on track here.
Yeah.
My other bad was there was not that this had to be done in an elongated way, But there was really no, and correct me if I missed something, but there was really no express reason why Dracula was attracted to Mina. Like that was
right.
That was basically the story of Bram Stoker's Dracula, and like he was more attracted to Lucy in this movie.
Oh, in this one for sure,
than Mina.
Yeah, there was no "You Look Like My Long Lost Love," piece of this, which is essential to the Dracula story. Yeah. I mean, even Fright Night, which wasn't a Dracula movie, basically was a Dracula movie. Yeah. With in regards to that,
because he had Marcy Darcy's portrait.
Because Marcy Darcy, he had her oil painting, and so, but yeah, that with that being gone, it really did kind of lead astray, like where Dracula's motivation was coming from.
So I mean, is he really there for Lucy or Mina, or is he just kind of there for, I don't know, just because he likes British blood? I don't know.
It's creepy Uncle Drac.
Creepy Uncle Drac. All right, Oz, what's your one?
Are we? And I know it's a comedy, so I know the answer is comedic. But are we really supposed to believe that the most powerful vampire of all time is Leslie Nielsen? Like there was really, like, he would turn into a bat again for comedic purposes, but there was no like animalistic charisma. There was no sexuality. It was just, it was almost like I was waiting for him to look at one of the girls and go, pull my finger. Like it was, and so, just start
telling dad jokes or
this is the pinnacle of fear, and this is the pinnacle of horror is Leslie Nielsen. So that's my is like, okay.
All righty. My is, was this movie really necessary? Like,
no.
In the sense that, like, and again, and I acknowledge what you said before about, like, Hollywood trusting Mel Brooks enough to let him do it. So that's not the point. It's like Bram Stoker's Dracula was released in 92. And it was, I think, a higher grossing movie that year, but like, was it really that big of a movie to earn a Mel Brooks spoof?
Right.
And especially, like 3-4 years later as well.
Right.
I don't know.
It was fairly quick turnaround.
So I don't know. It just, was Bram Stoker's Dracula big enough to be spoofed?
Well, and I guess the real answer to that is I don't think it was big enough to be spoofed, and this was not an effective spoof in terms of like market. Like I just looked it up. The budget for this movie was estimated to be $30 million, and it made 2.7 opening weekend.
Ooh, ouch!
And only grossed worldwide $10.7 million.
20 of that $30 million was spent on garlic.
Exactly. Really fluctuated the cost of garlic nationwide for several months.
The Fed had to adjust the interest rate to offset that.
Right, massive garlic shortage, which is where the product garlic was invented. They noted it's how business works. You find a problem and you create a solution. So, but yeah, it was a bomb. Like, this movie was a bomb. And it doesn't surprise me, because the people that went to see it were Mel Brooks fans. Yeah. And even then, he's so distanced from, like, the Mel Brooks, he's not Spaceballs Mel Brooks anymore. He's not, he's not the producer's Mel Brooks anymore. He's just, I'm going to make some movies with my friends, Mel Brooks. So, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think it wasn't his 30 million. So
that's very true. It was Steven Weber's 30 million.
Right. And he's still in debt.
Right now, that Wings fame.
Right. That was a fun show, though.
It was. I never really got into Wings. From
I
the little bit I got watched,
into it, but I remember seeing it enough. I think it was on USA. And Wings. Thomas Hayden Church got his start there.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with Thomas Ian Nicholas.
Rookie of the Year.
Which got his start as, Rookie of the Year. Henry Woven Gardner. Best Cub pitcher of all time.
Throws a mean fastball from the center field stands.
Right. The part of that movie that drives me nuts, and it always has driven me nuts, is they're in, like, Wrigley Field playoff baseball, and he can hear his mom whispering to him, "Float it, just
throw the floater."
And I'm like, you can't hear her.
Well, it's going back 2 weeks from the time of this recording. Kill me, Kate.
It's true. Kill me. Kill me, Kate.
And From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Kill me, Kate.
Kill me. Kill me, Kate.
Okay.
Oh boy.
All right, well, folks, that's Dracula, Dead and Loving It. I'm sure this one's going to spike our viewership and listenership for this week.
Yeah, well, I think we put $30 million budget into the show, and we'll get 2.7 views.
We will.
So.
We will. Thank you.
That's okay.
Thank you very much to Patreon subscribers Don S. and Melissa L. Because your patronage is really helping us cut some corners this week.
And the thing is, I can't speak for Melissa L., but I'm pretty sure Don S. will listen anyway. So, so thanks, Don, for sticking around this long.
Oz, we got one more week of Man-Bat Mud.
Yes, and we're taking kind of a left turn. We are switching away from a straight vampire movie. We've had straight vampire movies the last week.
Yes,
and we're taking a turn into a variety of monster movie. We're going to be talking about a mid-'80s movie called Waxwork, which is one of my favorite, just fun, guilty pleasure goofball movies. You're gonna see some people in here you recognize. You got Zach, is it Galligan from Kremlin?
Yes, Zach Galligan.
So you got David Warner is in this movie.
They always understated David Warner.
Right. And you've got Deborah Foreman, another 80s kind of bombshell in here. You got I can't think of his name. You got a guy from Twin Peaks. He's in this movie.
John Rhys Davies is in it.
John Rhys Davies is in this movie. The little guy from Fantasy Island is in this movie. It's just it's a fun movie. I'm excited you haven't seen it.
Yes, I have not seen it. I am excited to see this.
I mean, and I think in watching it, you'll notice that despite it's a fun movie, but it is so well done. Like it's an underrated gem for sure. Like it is so well done. They tackle, you've got all kinds of monsters in there. It's the premise of it is it's kind of takes place in a waxwork of horror. So you've got a werewolf, and you've got the Marquis de Sade, and you've got vampires, and you've got a Frankenstein, and you've got a mummy. You've got pod people, and but they're all just wax figures. But you cross the velvet rope, and you're in the environment. So, and it's a very fun movie. So I'm looking forward to sharing that. And it does qualify and satisfy our man turns into bat.
There we go.
Yeah. So that's definitely a plus there.
So yeah, one more week of Man-Bat, and then, as my friend, we will be rounding a corner for the show.
Yes, we hit the 52 episodes, one full year of Let's Talk About Flicks at the end of next week's podcast. So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Start season 2.
Season 2. Who would have thunk it?
I know we're in for the long haul here. So, but yeah, that's it for week 3. It's been a good month. It's been a good month, and I think we're gonna end on a real positive because I think you're gonna really like.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
It's a lot of fun. And so you know where to find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Again, we've mentioned Patreon, link down below if you were interested. Catch us on YouTube or listen to us on your favorite podcast app, which is kind of ironic because when you're hearing us say this, you're clearly already listening to us or watching us. So, but if you weren't aware that you could hear us again, doing other things,
go to one of the other apps and just listen to it there.
Right, we appreciate it.
Completely different experience for you.
Right, yeah, you see effects and faces, or you don't see effects and faces,
or that.
So, but that wraps up week 3 of Let's Talk About Flicks, and we will be back next week with Waxwork. I'm looking forward to seeing that. again. And so I'm Oz.
I'm Curtis.
And we will see you next week. Thanks.